The RPG genre is one of the oldest genres in video game history. The first big JRPG to really hit it off was the original Dragon Quest in 1985, released on the Nintendo Famicom. Then we have the original Final Fantasy that was released taking inspiration from Dragon Quest in 1987. Then in 1996, Pokemon Red and Green in Japan was released, and then later on in the US, becoming the highest grossing media franchise in history. And somehow with all that money, they still can't make a good game. The way that these games are played are unique to one another. We have the traditional turn-based like Pokemon, and then we have the real-time combat, action RPGs, tactical RPGs, MMORPGs, roguelikes, and like two more that I'm just too lazy to search up. But what I want to touch on today is a very special game. This game is not only my favorite game of all time, but is basically the game that launched JRPGs into the stratosphere in the US and launched it to heights never before seen. Of course, I'm talking about Final Fantasy VII. This game took the US by storm due to its amazing story, at the time next-gen graphics, its aggressive marketing campaign, which was kind of misleading because it only used the CGI cutscenes and never used the in-game cutscenes or gameplay. And what I want to touch on today, the gameplay, because I believe that Final Fantasy VII has perfected RPG combat. Now I'm going to look at the OG Final Fantasy VII, but the remake does basically do everything the OG does, but to a bit of a lesser extent. And also because it's an action RPG, not a traditional RPG. So I don't want to waste any more time because we got a lot to go over. So first let's talk about the basics. What style of RPG is Final Fantasy VII? Well, it uses a system called ATB, or Active Time Battle. How it works is that you basically have this meter next to the character, and whenever it's full, you can attack. And it doesn't matter what order you attack in, you can fucking choose to attack Barret even though he's last in line. But that means you cannot move again until that meter is filled up. And I always preferred this style compared to traditional turn-based or even real-time RPGs because it just adds that layer of strategy and thought. Like, for example, what character do I want to go first, or what move should I do to make this character's move worthwhile? And the enemies work the same way, and it adds even more. It's like you're on the clock. What will you do before they attack? I think that the ATB system is the best way to make RPG combat fun. And of course, I can't forget about limit breaks, the character's ultimate move, and the way it works is kind of interesting. It's kind of like a risk-reward system. The more damage you get hit with, the more that your bar charges. And eventually, if you get hit more and more, you get your ability. But if you get hit too much and you die, then your bar resets. So it's like a risk or reward. Do I want to get hit and have my bar fill a lot? Or do I want to, defend myself, but my bar not fill as fast? Next up, we have the magic and attacks and stuff like that. Now, how Final Fantasy VII works and how it does its magic is that instead of unlocking them through, leveling up or doing stuff like that, Final Fantasy VII uses these things called materia. And there are different types of materia like magic, support, command, complete, and summon materia. And the more you use those materia, the stronger it gets. For example, we have Cure. If you use it a lot of times, it levels up to Curaga. And eventually, if you use it enough times, you will master it, making it the strongest version of that materia. Now, what's cool about materia is that it's not locked to any certain character. Because unlike traditional RPGs, Final Fantasy VII doesn't have classes. For example, like white mages, ninjas, black mages, stuff like that. With an exception of Aerith. Aerith, it doesn't fucking matter. She dies in the end anyways. But even with Aerith, she's very versatile. But she's more like the healer white mage type. And yet again, unlike traditional RPGs, you don't unlock these materia from the characters themselves, but rather they are collectibles that you can find in the world or you can get from side quests. And you can equip it to any character you like. Even in Final Fantasy X, which is one of my other personal favorites of all time, even though you can give all of the characters the same moves, it is highly encouraged to stick to their class. Yuna is in the white mage route, Lulu is in the black mage route, Titus is the speed class. It's all very suited to their type of style. This also plays into the type of weapon you want to select, since different weapons have a different amount of materia slots. and some slots even connect to each other, which allows you to combine materia abilities. This means that there are nearly endless combinations that you can create with materia. For example, let's say you have a fire materia and you have an all materia. If you have a slot in your weapons that allows you to combine the two, then you use fire. Instead of damaging only one enemy, it damages all of the enemies. Pretty simple, right? Or if you have a MP turbo materia, it will deal more magic damage, but it will use up more MP, aka magic power. But if you fully max out the MP turbo materia, it can deal up to 50% more damage, making the trade-off worth it. And if you have the Ultima materia, oh, it's wraps for the enemies. And it even works on summons, which can lead to my personal favorite combination. If you combine your Phoenix materia with your final attack materia, then when all your characters die, the final attack materia will activate, which will summon the Phoenix, and it will appear and revive your entire team to full health, basically acting like a second life. And that's just like the tip of the iceberg. There are so many materias, and there's so many different combinations of materia that you can do that if I did a whole video on it, it would take hours. And that's just like kind of the crutch of why I think this is the perfect RPG combat system, because you have such free range in combinations. There's nothing saying, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. It lets you experiment, and that's what I love the most. I haven't played an RPG like Final Fantasy VII that lets you customize the same. Nowhere near Pokemon. Pokemon, you're relegated to like, oh, if you're a fire Pokemon, you should only use fire type moves. And again, going back to Final Fantasy X, again, I love that game to death, but if you try to like use other moves that are not really suited for that character, for example, Titus using like heal, or Cura or Curaga, it's just not going to be as effective as Yuna, because those moves are tailored to her class. And I feel like that's why Final Fantasy, one of the reasons why Final Fantasy is so popular, because again, it's like breaks away. It's one of the big RPGs that broke away from traditional RPG norms that kind of maybe drove away people, like classes, having to level up your character a certain way. It just lets people customize the way they want to play, and it makes each playthrough unique. And adding on to that ATB type attack movements, where you have to basically like time your attacks, you have to strategize what I would do if I want to use heal on this and I waste a move and the enemy will attack me. It adds these layers of strategy, and it just makes the game so fun. There are literally no limits what you can do, and that is why I think Final Fantasy VII perfects the RPG combat system. And that is all I gotta say for today, guys. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment down below, what do you guys think about Final Fantasy VII's combat? Do you guys think there's a better one? If you say anything in the comments, it's just not true. I'm just saying. No, but for real, thanks to everybody who's watching this video, because I know if I make a video like on a different game, it's just not going to perform as well as my Sonic videos. So if you watch this video to the end, I truly appreciate it. You are an OG, and you're just the best. Yeah, you're the best, the number one. I love you. Thank you. I do eventually want to do a full-on like retrospective or review of Final Fantasy VII later down the line, when I'm bigger and more people will watch it, because I genuinely love this game with my heart, man. It is like, it changed me as a person, it changed my views on the world, and I just love this game to death, man. It's such a fun game. One day I will. Man, this month is pretty stacked. We have Superstars coming out, we have Spider-Man coming out, and I have a special Halloween episode for y'all. I think you're gonna really enjoy it when you see it. I've been wanting to do a video on this game for a long time. I think a lot of people are gonna know what's gonna be, but it's gonna be a fun video, I think, when it comes out. But we got stacked. We got a lot of videos coming out this month. So yeah, that's all I gotta say for today, and I'll see y'all in the next one.